Thanks for tuning in to the Big Money Investor Show with Jim Ingersoll, where we talk about the best strategies for you to create cash flow and long-term wealth. Investing like the very top investors. Visit us online at www.bigmoneyinvestor.com and enjoy today's show.
Welcome to the Investor Success Podcast. I am Jim Ingersoll, and I'm excited to have you along today. This show was created exclusively for investors seeking lasting cash flow, increased net worth, and success investing in real estate the right way. My name is Jim Ingersoll, and I am your host for this podcast today. I'm also the founder of the Investor Success Mastermind, where I get the pleasure of helping investors all over the country find higher levels of income and net worth while they invest in real estate the right way. You can learn more about what we do there at the InvestorSuccessMastermind.com. I created this podcast not only to motivate and inspire you to achieve more, but also to share some very specific steps with you on action items you can take right away. And my special guest today is going to do just that. So let's get this rolling right away. Let me tell you just real quickly a little bit about Cynthia Schmidt, and then we're going to jump right into this incredible show today. Cynthia Schmidt is absolutely dedicated to helping landlords succeed. She and her husband Gary have been landlords for over 20 years, and they've personally managed as many as 500 tenants. You heard that right, 500. So you think with 500 tenants, they've seen every possible scenario that a tenant could throw their way. The good, the bad, the ugly. They've had their share of problems that they've had to work through, and that has really become their niche for helping landlords succeed. It's when landlords have a problem and they've got to evict a tenant, that is usually the end of the story for the landlord. But they've put together a really cool little niche about how to go back to court with their tenants and satisfy those judgments from the evictions. They've personally done it with their own property. Like I said, with over 500 tenants, you can imagine they had a lot of them. And they've satisfied over 90 of their own judgments and collected over $200,000 in back rent of their own. Cynthia is a fellow speaker along with myself. I've had the pleasure of sharing the same stage with her around the country at some Jeffrey Taylor events and other places. And I know firsthand she's got a load of dynamite for you today. She is full of energy, and she's coming to us from the beautiful Fort Myers area of Florida. Cynthia, welcome to our Investor Success Podcast today. I am so excited for you to jump into this because usually when real estate investors and landlords run into a problem, all they do is they get the tenant out as best they can, lick their wounds, and move on. But you're more like a bulldog. You go back to court, you take them to small claims court, you do the garnishments, you get the cash back, and you've got a system for making sure that your tenants don't rob money from you. It's like grand larceny. When these tenants steal from us like this, they trash the place, they walk away owing us money, and you've got a cool little way about going back to get it. So it's nice to have you along with us today, Cynthia. All right. Well, this is a big problem nationwide, and there is certain steps you take to get a tenant evicted. You said how much is owed nationwide again?
$19 billion.
I mean, that's a lot of money.
Somebody said, not million. I'm up like Warren, billions, big money.
It's really unbelievable how much there is owed, and all of that is collectible by landlords, but they're unwilling to make it happen. They just sit back and they listen to these tenant excuses about the dog ate the money order or somebody died, or they think they can take total advantage of the landlord, or the landlord doesn't really care. All they want to do is, not pay their rent for a couple of months, then they'll move and do it again. I mean, there are some tenants who love to take advantage of the system and of individual landlords.
Jim, I agree I agree to that, but I am a person, when we have problems, I put it on the landlord's shoulders. I have spoke at the Area National Summit and big speaking. I'll ask them, Jim, how many of you have read all your state statutes, eviction, small claims, and there's not a hand. So, like, you can't fly a 757 if you don't have training. So I not blame, but there was never a training program like the Collect Back Rent. This is the only one in the nation, is if we let them run all over us, they're like, if they open the doors at Walmart for an hour to let them come in and steal, there'll be nothing left, okay? Now, what it is we just want to look a blind eye on the landlord profession. Always went for the shortcut. Like, my lawyer takes care of it. I know, but if you don't know what your lawyer's doing, your name's on the mortgage, the manager. It's like a hot potato. Instead of saying to yourself, I want to learn my business so the tenants do not take advantage. They're probably studying more of them state statutes than the landlords that are the owners. It's unbelievable. It's just, so the solution.
You know, when you go to court as a landlord, you can learn a lot by watching everyone else. It's really a learning experience. 15
years, and I'd be right up in front, and I'd go 10 minutes early, and I'd listen to all the cases. Every time I came out of there, I learned something new. And that's what the profession, it's the biggest small business in America. That's what I'm talking about, the biggest small business.
Wow.
And we want to grab that education and go, yes, yes.
Yep, you got to take control. That's for sure. And you mentioned about the guy in Chicago that owed $30,000. His tenant owed him that much. Did he give you any insight as to how that happened? Was he just afraid to take action? Didn't care? Didn't need the money? You know, a lot of this is driven out of fear of the tenants, I feel.
Well, you know, here's the thing:
or compassion.
Okay. First of all, let's start it is, if you want compassion and charity, you go ahead and get the rent and give it to your own charity. If you want funds, join a bike club. You are in a business. You're not here. You're supplying housing from. So this is all. And the thing is, he bit into the stories. He didn't know all his state statutes because, first of all, you need the training. I'm sorry to say, the landlord profession, you can't just get into it and I want to collect my rent without studying and training, okay? So he went into it thinking, no wonder the tenants say, the landlords just want the rent. They don't read the state statutes. They don't know about it. No, they don't. So he just bit into it, Jim, and it just went on. And he was in that where 99% of the landlords fall, where I will not go. I hope they pay. Hope is not a strategy in business. So if he would have taken the course before that, I would have had him out with the collect back rent, in 2 months? Not that long. See, so if he had the training, he'd take care of it. Easy.
You said in Chicago there's how many evictions per year?
45,000, and that's not small claims. That's just eviction. Small claims is where the profession totally collapses. Why? Yep. That's when you got your property and they owe you rent, and then right away you're like, let them go. They damage your property, let them go. So that's just evictions, 45,000. The cut and run, and we look the blind eye in small claims, that's where the business has to totally stand up right there. You got your place back, but they owe you money, and you've got to go get a judgment. What are you sending out to the tenants? They don't care about the money. They don't care about damaging your property. No wonder we're in this big hole.
Absolutely, right on. So there's basically 3 steps to an eviction. Just to recap how the process works. You send the quit or pay. Then you...
I like personal service. I don't like sending it, Jim. I'm sorry. I like personal service on the notices. I like personal. I do not send it. Some people do, but there's no shortcut. I do everything exactly the perfect for the court system. I find the landlords always want a shortcut. No, I show them when they move in, this is what you're going to get if you don't pay. I go to the door. If I got to post it, I go take a picture and have an affidavit of a witness that saw that I served it. But I want personal service so I get that money. They know I'm right there. I want the money.
Okay. And then you go to the clerk and you work on getting your date in court, and then you go get the judgment, and that's usually the end of it for most landlords. But the problem is they get the judgment, and they don't ever go back and collect that back rent. They don't get the damages. They don't get any of that. They just leave it all all that dough is just sitting on the table, and they do nothing with it. They're just excited to get their damaged property back, and they don't care if it's, the average you said is $4,000 or $5,000. They leave that $4,000 to $5,000 behind. They leave the damages behind, and they try to move forward instead of going back and getting that money. It's really unbelievable how much dough is being left behind here. How long do they have to go to small claims court if a tenant moved out owing rent as part of this eviction?
Well, in the small claims, let's just say you pull up and they moved out and they owed you 2 months, Jim. What are we going to do? You're not in the eviction. We go to small claims. That means damages, unpaid utilities, rent. You've already got possession, but they owe you money. Now, it can range. In Illinois, it's 4 years. In Ohio, it's 15 years, okay? So that means if somebody owed you rent 13 years ago and you didn't get a judgment, you can still go and get the judgment. And when we talk about letting it sit on the table, I have to clarify. Every state has like a debtor's exam or a discovery. And when I talk, that's why I got the majority of my satisfied. When I talk to landlords, it isn't that they are lazy. They just do not even know of the procedures. Because I'll say, has anybody been to your debtor's examination like in Ohio? And nobody raises their hand. That's where they're going to get their money. They are even, when I say it, all the terms or avenues, they don't even know the avenues. So this isn't even they want the money, but they don't have the direction to go get it. Now, the landlord, I can be on them a little bit today, but I'm going to give them a little credit. They went out and bought that property. They went down and got the eviction. They're halfway there. That means if they knew the wage, bank, levy on personal or debtor's exam, we put them right into the post-judgment, but there's never been a blueprint for our profession. So I can get on them a little bit, but how could they go to these avenues if they don't know about them?
Now, you've got a good feel for all of the states across the country, and I'm just curious which ones you think are hardest on landlords and which ones are most landlord-friendly. Do you have a feel for that?
I tell you right now, if you know every bit of your state, everyone is landlord-friendly, okay? When I hear that, like the judge or maybe a give or take, but all of them have the post-judgment proceedings. All of them have eviction and small claims. So I would say maybe, California's good, Illinois is good, Virginia, they're all good, okay? Because they all have the eviction and small claims, and they all have, like I said, that debtor's examination where you're going to get the majority of them served. But where I fall short is when they say, oh, it's tenant friendly. But if you have to do everything perfect, or it's going to fall into the tenant's lap because you're the plaintiff. So if you don't serve your notice correct, or you don't get back with your security deposit, or you don't do what you're supposed to do, naturally, Jim, that's going to fall in the tenants, and the judge doesn't like that. You have to know every inch. And if you know it, all the states are good. A little tough in Texas. They don't have wage garnishment. But their debtor's exam is called subpoena ducis tecum. So right away in Texas, I've got the answer. We put them right into their subpoena ducis tecum. we get subpoena documents, make the payment agreement, and we're going to get our money. So each state, in the book, I figure out, and I have a flow chart of the post-judgment, all the states sort of fall into, they're all good. If we know our business, if we know our state statutes, that's huge. And
not
naturally,
operate
it
as
can
a
fall
business,
bit
not as a hobby. Well,
like I'm sorry, Jim, go ahead.
Well, I was just thinking there's a lot of accidental landlords over the last few years, too. And these are people that weren't able to sell a house. Maybe they were upside down and they thought, well, I'll just start renting my house or do it casually, not really as a business. And they're the ones who can get into trouble really quickly as well. What have you seen when you go to court and the tenant shows up, and how important is it to be respectful to the court? And what have you seen, like, tenants are not always respectful. I mean, I've seen them make really bad mistakes, and the judge will automatically issue a judgment if they're not respectful to the court. What have you seen in that regard that's important?
Well, here it is, like we said, you're going to get to court 10 minutes early. Turn your cell phone off,
Yep.
Go in there and use it as an education. You get called up to the judge. What I see, Jim, is first of all, the landlords do not have their paperwork perfect. Remember I said proof of service, they have to have it like exactly how much you owe court costs. You have to be precise. Then they go ahead and confront the defendant at the podium, the tenant, and start talking. And boy, the judge brings it down. They interrupt the judge. They don't, after he says thank you, they go ahead and keep talking. And it really, if I was a judge, which I and I looked out there and they were those pro se landlords sitting in there wasting the court's time because they did not learn their business. You come up there, you're up against lawyers that know. So you better know. And I look out there, no wonder the judges don't like us because we're not prepared. We haven't read the state statutes. We argue. We're very unprofessional. And that's what my coaching is, how we go and utilize the judge and the court system to our advantage. And it's really great up there when things go exactly like you want. Now, sometimes the judge will give a little teeny this way or that way. We got to bend, not break. But it feels good. I had one lady brush me up there and call me the B word. I said to the
judge doesn't like that.
The B word. And you know what he did? He pointed the gavel to the bailiff, Jim, and said 7 days, no bail. So they took her right there, put her 7 days in jail. Okay. So I have that little teeny, like, around that podium. Boy, it's my playground. I thought it was real hot, 100 degrees in a full courtroom. My hair got all frizzy, and I'm like, oh, man, I'm going home, man. This is too much.
You actually put the tenant in jail for 7 days. Oh, my gosh.
Oh, boy. I had, like I said, if they don't come to their debtor's exam, I think I've already talked about it in all 50 states, the warrant goes out there also. So this is a business. You go to Walmart, you steal, they call the cops. Here is no difference. You don't pay. Once you get in here, hey, it's money. See, that's the poor profession. It's the biggest small business in America, and it's the one that people, it's a hobby. You might as well play croquet in the front yard. It isn't that.
You might as well play croquet in the front yard. I love it. It is so true, though, and it is like stealing, isn't it? When tenants don't pay their rent and they take
100%.
advantage of the landlord, it is like stealing. And it's, like you talked about this landlord in Chicago, $30,000 on average. $3,000, $4,000, $5,000 they're just walking away from, and it's like Grand Theft Auto, and it's just and it's to the advantage of these tenants, and some of them are professional at this. They just go from landlord to landlord, and they don't have to pay their rent all year round.
Well, Jim, with the 90 satisfied judgments, I put a heartbeat in all of them, and that's what we're letting them be deadbeats. Because if we don't go after the money, or go and get the judgment. We're just fanning the fire. We're letting them be. Mine are not deadbeats. I put a heartbeat in all of them. They all feel better. They pay their bills, which is true. And they, out of the 90 satisfied judgments, facts are brutal. 1 voluntarily paid me. 1. So if they're standing on the corner waiting for pay that judgment, it's a long wait. No. 1 paid. You have got to be like a judgment creditor and put them in the post-judgment. See, that's what's happened. The landlord will get the eviction or the token small claims of judgment. Then they have to learn how to be a judgment creditor. And that's post-judgment. You go from the landlord to the judgment creditor like all the other creditors. Here's this big business getting all these judgments, and they're not going to be a judgment creditor. It's wild.
So let's talk about that. Once you've got that judgment and the tenant moves out, it can be a challenge to find them again. And if they've changed jobs or if they've done, if their application isn't accurate or something happens, it can be hard to garnish. So how do you go out there and reconnect with these former tenants that have moved out?
Well, in my training course, I have 33 websites that we can check, first of all. And that means like
skip tracing?
Well, not yet. Then if we like courthouse websites and Sabasearch and People Smart and mugshots.com, all them that are pretty much very inexpensive. Then if they've exhausted those 33 places, Jim, we get a skip trace done by a licensed process server. Now that's that person that serves documents. They can do a little bit more into it. But just remember, when I talk about this debtor's examination in all 50 states, if we don't know where they work, we subpoena their payroll stubs to there. If we don't know where they bank to do a bank levy, we're going to subpoena the bank statement. Levy on personal registration to all vehicles. So if you don't know where they work, you don't know where they bank, or you don't know what they own under their name, that's what this debtor's examination is about. Bringing them in, subpoenaing the documents that's needed to see which way we're going to go. But the strongest tool in debt collection is the debtor's examination, and they make a monthly payment agreement in that court. That's where I got the majority of my judgment is making that a payment agreement in the debtor's exam, which all 50 states have. And all the time, if they don't pay, we can get a contempt of court. But that's where we're going to get the majority. Yes, we're going to get the wage. We're going to get the bank levies, the levy on personal. But in that debtor's exam, making the payment agreement in there, that's where we're going to get the majority of
So that debtor's exam is a powerful tool, and I will bet most of the people listening today have never heard of it.
Well, I stumbled onto it in Illinois. In Illinois, it's called Citation to Discover Assets, the same thing. And, Jim, it was probably, I'd say 16 years ago. I stumbled into this court, which is Illinois' debtor's exam, and all of a sudden I seen something. I was the only landlord for 8 years, all lawyers. And I was collecting all my money. They're going to jail. They're going here. And I never saw him. I'd come home and I said, Gare, all this money I'm bringing home. He goes, well, are the other landlords there? I go, no. I always thought they would come to get their money. And when I talk about it, they didn't even know the procedure. So it was really an epiphany. I had my epiphany, and that's where I'm at when I found the debtor's exam. And, yes, they have to pay. It's the best money you'll ever get.
How long are those judgments good for once the landlord's got them?
Well, it can range anywhere from 10 years in Illinois, and we can renew it. And in New York, it's 20 years.
Wow.
In Florida, it's 5 years. So let's go across the nation from 5 years to 20 years. Now, remember, 20 years after you get that judgment, there's a lot of Outback steakhouses and big screen TVs. They got the money. But they are not, and look at, you're earning interest. It can go all the way up because Virginia, on the interest, you can have contract rate in Virginia. So if you have it in your lease in Virginia, you can have up to 18% interest on those judgments. Oh, my God.
Yeah, it's a lot, and all that's accruing. So now a separate subject from landlording real quick. Is there a potential business where somebody could go out and seek out landlords that have a lot of judgments and offer to buy them at pennies on the dollar if they're good at going out and collecting them? Could these things be sold or not?
Okay, here's the thing. I have with my product, I have a judgment assignment manual that has the state statutes for all 50 states concerning assignment of judgment. What is assignment? That means you're assigned the original judgment creditor's judgment to collect on. Yes. But what it happens to be is you have to learn how to collect yourself. Either study the course, you're going to have to know. Because remember, 7 out of 10 of those judgments we can collect on. We can't collect on Social Security, poverty, below the poverty level, or retirement. So you don't want to be assigned it. But yes, I have my judgment assignment manual in the package. So you study, you gain competence, and that is a huge business. Look at 70%
I would agree with you.
And it's where, first of all, you've got to get confidence with collecting. Now, you can buy it cash up front or future pay. When I hear pennies on the dollar, Jim, I don't know. I would say 10%.
Well, because I think these landlords have these thousands of dollars in judgments, and they don't even plan to try to collect. So it would seem like if
naturally, we come in and benefit from the lack of training and competence from the landlords. Now, I'm sure if the landlords would open their brains and go, yes, I want to learn, they're not going to give you pennies on the dollar, all that major money. Landlords can be frugal. If they know they can collect it, they're not going to go ahead. But their lack of, the collect back rent training course is the beginning of opening the doors for all this. But the judgment assignment, I've got some young pups, what I call pups, that came to my boot camp, and I got about 9 really active judgment assignment people that have started a business, and they're usually in their 20s and 30s seeing the whole big picture. They see that, look at all that, and they can have one in each of the states, have a debt collection attorney come in. This is big time, but yes, when you get confidence, and why not? That's what we're here to make money. Wouldn't it be easier to go in and collect on these judgments instead of buying more property, more your names out on paper everywhere? Right. This is
And you know, it's not dissimilar from people that invest in non-performing notes. That whole niche is about getting the notes to perform again, and this whole niche could be about collecting the back judgments.
It's huge. It's called the Judgment Assignment Business. What you have to do is buy the course, study it. The Judgment Assignment Manual is in the course, so your state is right there with the needed forms. Then you can go ahead and get a hold of the landlords at RIA groups, landlord associations, social media. I buy judgments. And then I go ahead and my coaching takes them right through getting those judgments. And yes, wouldn't it be nice to pick up on those judgments and have that money coming in every month? It's just beautiful.
So what is the big picture on how the Collect Back Rent training course is going to change really the direction of the entire landlord profession? I mean, that's sort of your big vision, right? How does that work?
Yes, I look to the big picture. I see this because I've been 12 years. I'm here from here till I'm not on earth again with this program. What I see is the landlord profession needs direction to what way to go to deal with the tenants. And I feel like in 10 years after the Collect Back Rent has gotten to these landlords and they're on the right direction, we'll know every inch of our business to deal with any problems. And, when we have confidence, the less confrontational with the tenant because we know our business. But what I see is when the judgments come down in the big picture, the landlord knows exactly what avenue they're going to go to collect the money. Like I say at the speaking, you go to O'Hare Airport, you get in the airplane, you're going to Honolulu. You don't go east, you go west. That's what I'm doing with this huge profession. I'm turning it in the right direction. And I think it's too mentally is we can't let this keep going. Everybody's put a Band-Aid on it. I'm going to the solution. They don't pay the rent. We serve the notice. We have to evict them. We go to post-judgment to collect. They damage our property, leave without paying. We go to small claims, easy. Wait 30 days after the judgment, go to the post-judgment proceeding. So that means 70% of those judgments in the future are going to be paid back into our pocket. And what it does is when you're standing there and you're at the lease signing, you have confidence. A lot of my team members have the collect back rent book right there while they're signing. But what I'm putting in it is the education that we always needed, but it wasn't there. There was something missing. And you know, Jim, there's something missing in the biggest small business in America. And that's the courtroom knowledge and the collect back rent training course. What I see, the landlord, okay, they're investors. They buy the property, they obtain the financing, they prepare it to rent. Yes, this is crucial. Screen the tenant, which is in my move-in kit, very important. But the piece that's missing is the $19 billion. And all of a sudden, if something happens, you go in chaos. And you go, oh. Then you know what they do? They go right over and buy more real estate. Now, don't you want to find the solution first? Then you can buy as much as you want. And this is what it is, the full circle of business. That's what I'm about, the full circle. And I've seen what it does to the landlords. Right away, they're feeling like schmo, and they start feeling, yes, I'm confident. And who wants to be in a business where the tenant controls? I don't know. It's easy. You got to get educated.
Yes, you do. So let's sort of wrap up and tell people how they can take advantage of your collect back rent training course. Because, I mean, you've highlighted so many things on how, you know, we started off with the tenant excuses and what happens when you get a judgment and how the eviction process works and how to get these judgments and things like that and how to collect. But to get the full picture and this step-by-step blueprint, you know, how would some of our listeners be able to take advantage of that today, Cynthia?
Well, I always have a webinar scheduled. We'll start it right there on my website. I always have a live one once a week, and that's at collectbackrent.com. And what I offer on my webinar is my special deal for the package. It's a $9.97 value, and at this link, I sell it for $3.99. Now, when I talk about even the $9.97, 1 month's rent to make sure you get the $60,000. At my special link, if you don't go to the webinar and you want my special from the webinar, at collectbackrent.com/special, it's $3.99. Now, Jim, I'll tell you right now, $3.99 to make sure you get the $60,000. That's 5 years. If you own the property 10 years, it's $120,000. So I don't know.
And just to clarify that, so on average, you've done the research, and you know on average a landlord owns a property for 5 years. So they've got an opportunity to collect 60 rent payments, and if that on average is $1,000 a month, their rental income opportunity is $60,000, right? Is that how you came up with that?
Yeah. So when I talk about half a month's rent, which I feel I'm on a win-win, that landlords win, I win, is for $3.99, you'll know how to collect the $60,000. It's unbelievable. Right. It's huge.
So quit leaving the dough on the table.
And you can email me if you want more questions at mrslandlady@gmail.com, mrslandlady@gmail.com. But when I I end it with my speaking is, aren't they tired of the low road, Jim? I only want my place back. I don't care about the money. I don't want to learn. Take the high road. Come to my website, collectbackrent.com. Come to one of my live webinars. And if you want to make the step right now, because there's no waiting, you go to collectbackrent.com/special, and I have my coaching, and we're going to put you in the right direction and get all your money so you can buy more real estate.
All right, that sounds good. Cynthia, I really appreciate your being on with me today, and I love your passion. You are like a stick of dynamite on this stuff, and I love it. So I really appreciate that.
I get more excited as it goes on, Jim. That's the thing. It hasn't waned in all these years. So I'm
you've been there because you've had,
and,
I mean, you and Gary have been landlords for a long time, and you said you've had as many as 500 tenants to manage. I mean, so you've been there, done it.
Yeah.
You've seen every scenario imaginable. And I appreciate your being our guest today. Well, that's it for this special episode with Cynthia Schmidt. And I appreciate your tuning into the Investor Success Podcast. My name is Jim Ingersoll, and I'm not only the host of this podcast episode, but I'm also the founder of the Investor Success Mastermind, where I help investors all over the country achieve success investing in real estate. You can learn more about our community at investorsuccessmastermind.com. Feel free to email me anytime. My email is jim@investingnownetwork.com. And I've also got a free investing kit waiting for you today if you go to bigmoneyinvestor.com. Thanks again for tuning into this show, and be sure to leave us a review on iTunes if you enjoyed it. And I hope everybody has a great day today.
Thank you, Jim.
Thanks for tuning in to the Big Money Investor Show with Jim Ingersoll, where we talk about the best strategies for you to create cash flow and long-term wealth. Investing like the very top investors. Visit us online at www.bigmoneyinvestor.com and enjoy today's show.